Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radha Jai Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Suma Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Gonditai Jaya Gonditai Jaya Gonditai Jaya Gonditai Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jagushtapad Paramahansa Supreme Acharya Ashtottara Satasri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री ललिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा गिरिधारी भगवान की जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय श्री कृष्ण बलराम की जय श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. And welcome to this evening session of Krishna Katha. I'm sure all of us or all of you would have assembled yesterday at the temple to celebrate the first big festival after this pandemic had struck all over the world. And we saw how wonderfully all the devotees came together and glorified and did Sankirtan together to celebrate a great festival, which is the appearance day of Lord Balaram. We were also very fortunate to have His Holiness Devamrit Maharaj with us yesterday, and he also gave us some insights into the glories of Lord Balaram. So we thought today we'll take this opportunity to take a break from our regular Srimad Bhagavatam katha that we were doing about Jad Bharat. And since it is the appearance day of Lord Balaram, or it was yesterday, it's a good opportunity for us to meditate on some of the glories of Lord Balaram. It is not very commonly known amongst devotees as well about Lord Balaram as such. We know a little bit here and there, but there are a lot of these insights and a lot of information that we can get about Lord Balaram, which will increase our faith in him and in our devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So today we will look at some of the glories of Lord Balaram from uh, Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you have got the books with you, we are going to discuss from Adi Lila, chapter 5, which talks about the glories of Lord Balaram and Nityananda Prabhu, who is none other than Balaram, who appeared along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I just want to invite all of you to ask any questions at the end. This is being once we've got the glories discussed, you will have an opportunity to ask questions. Even if I am not able to reply straight away, I'll definitely endeavor to put it on the WhatsApp group for everybody's benefit. So we will start our session today on Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram's appearance day ki jai. So we'll do the invocation that we normally recite before we discuss from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Gaurnitai ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Mahavishnu Goswaminiti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivash Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we will discuss about Lord Balaram, his glories, and an insight into some of his pastimes, or perhaps one pastime, depending on how much time we have got with us. But before we talk about Balaram, it's nice to understand. A lot of us know that the word Balaram means Bal. It comes from two words, Bal and Rama. Bal is strength or power, but this strength or power is not the material strength. It refers to the spiritual power. So spiritual strength. So the strength that we get to advance in our spiritual life comes from the mercy of Lord Balaram. So that's the Bal. And Ram means one who gives pleasure, the giver of pleasure. So the personality who imparts spiritual strength, eternal spiritual strength, and who is also the bestower of all pleasures when we do engage in the devotional service of the Lord. That personality is referred to as Balaram. So, who is Balaram, and why is his, or what is so special about him that we need to meditate on to increase our devotional service to Lord Krishna? So, there is a nice verse in Adi Lila, chapter 5. This is text 4. So it says, Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan Tahar Dvitiya Deho Sri Balaram. So here Krishnadas Kaviraj says that the supreme personality of Godhead Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Sarva Avatari. So avatar is the incarnation, and Sarva Avatar means all incarnation. So all incarnation, the source of all incarnation is what? Krishna Swayam Bhagavan, is from Bhagavan Krishna. Then the next line says, Lord Balaram is his second body. Tahar Dvitiyo Deho. So Krishna's second body, or his first expansion, we can say, is Sri Balaram. Further it is said, একাই স্বরূপ দোহে ভিন্ন মাত্রকায় আদ্যকায় বিহ কৃষ্ণ লীলার সহায়. They are both one and the same identity. They differ only in form. He is the first bodily expansion of Krishna, and he assists in Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. So it is said that Balaram is actually, he is a Swamsha, he is the first expansion of the Lord, and therefore there is no difference between Krishna and Balaram. In one way they are one and the same. So if we try to look at what are the similarities or what are the so-called differences, just to understand, although Krishna and Balaram is one, we also need to understand their respective positions. So first is Krishna is the source of all incarnations or expansions. Whatever Vishnu tattvas emerge comes from Krishna. And Balaram is the first expansion of all such expansions and incarnations. So when Krishna needs to expand further on or incarnate, first he expands as Balaram, and then from Balaram everything else emerges or comes out of. So that is one. Second point to understand is Krishna mercifully takes service from his devotees. So Krishna comes in the form, in his actual transcendental form, his two-handed form, to interact with devotees, to take their service. And when he is not physically manifest in front of his devotees, he is manifest in the form of his deity to take service. So that is one important aspect of Krishna. Now, his first expansion, Balaram, comes and teaches us how to give service. So Krishna takes service, Balaram gives service. So the whole mission of Lord Balaram, as mentioned here, although they are one and the same, Krishna and Balaram, Krishna is the Supreme Lord who wants the devotees to serve him. Balaram is also a form of the Lord who is actually serving the Lord and thereby teaching us how to serve the Lord in pure devotion. So in one way, he is guiding all living entities how to serve Krishna at all times. So because he's teaching us, he is the guide, the mentor, he's the guru, or he's also referred to as the Adi Guru. So anybody who follows the footsteps of Lord Balaram is also considered to be to be a part of Lord Balaram, in the sense that he represents Lord Balaram. and he represents the Guru Tattva, that he is the eternal guide of all living entities, teaching everybody how to sincerely and with a pure heart serve Krishna and try to please him at all times in all circumstances. So Lord Balaram, he assists Krishna in all his pastimes. So whenever there is Krishna, there is Balaram. Now some of the information that we will read or we will try to understand, they are inconceivable. I mean, of course, all pastimes of Krishna are inconceivable. In fact, right from the time he was born to the time he killed all these demons, to the time he performed his wonderful pastimes, including lifting of Govardhan Hill, they're all absolutely inconceivable. You know, we just cannot even think or imagine such things happening. They are beyond our perception. So that's why it is said that when we are in this conditioned existence, the more conditioned we are, the more difficult it is for us to understand these pastimes. And that's why Srila Prabhupada, understanding this situation, introduced the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of the holy name, as a prerequisite, that first we need to chant. When we chant, the conditioning around us, around this conditioning loosens. And when that conditioning loosens, through the cracks of that conditioned existence, somehow if the Krishna Katha goes inside, then what happens? Then somehow, because of the Lord's mercy, the person who's hearing such pastimes develops a taste, likes it, just feels blissful, and eventually understands or tries to understand to the best of his ability with full faith. So whatever we read here, whatever we understand from the scriptures, you should accept with full faith, understanding fully well that it is actually inconceivable. In fact, there is a nice verse in Skanda Puran that says, Achintya khalu ye bhavanatvam tarkena yojayet, which basically means that the matters that are inconceivable to a common man, they should not be a subject for argument. So when we cannot understand it, how can we argue about it? So whatever we hear from scriptures, from sadhu, from shastra, we accept it with complete faith. And Krishna as Paramatma eventually gives us the understanding by which we can progress in our own devotional service. So this chapter, there are a lot of verses, but these are the two verses that talks about the nature or the position of Lord Balaram. So Lord Balaram, Krishna expands as Lord Balaram, and then Balaram himself, he expands into further 5 forms. So Krishna expands as Balaram, and then Balaram expands as 5 different forms from there. So why does he have to do this? He does all of this ultimately for 3 purposes. There are 3 purposes that Balaram has. First is to assist Krishna in this material creation. Assist Krishna. That's the first purpose. Second purpose is to maintain the spiritual creation that is eternal. So he maintains that. That's also Balaram's job, or he takes it on as a service. And third is he becomes or arranges Krishna's paraphernalia to perform various pastimes. So there are 3 purposes. So to fulfill those 3 purposes, he expands himself in 5 forms. So what are the 5 forms? First, he expands himself as Mahasankarshan. So Mahasankarshan. Balaram expands himself as Mahasankarshan, and from Mahasankarshan you have the Chaturvya, the 4 quadruple expansions of Krishna. So Sankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, they expand from Balaram, the first, and then again they expand into another four, and then the Vishnus come into effect. So essentially, Balaram also expands as the three Vishnus that we are aware. So Karmadakshay, Karbodakshai, and Shirodakshay Vishnu. And then he expands also as Shesha, Ananta Shesh that we see. So all of these have a purpose. So Mahasankarshan, as we said, quadruple, all the three Vishnus. Now all these four expansions, they are, what is the purpose? It is for the cosmic manifestation. When Krishna chooses to manifest this material world, this is how he manifests. We have detailed description in Chaitanya Charitamrita of how that happens. So it's Balaram who actually assists. And as Lord Shesha, he actually performs personal service to Lord Krishna. It is said that as Shesha, he expands himself into matter. I mean, when we say matter, of course, even in Vrindavan, it is said even matter is conscious. So even though they might sound like articles of dead matter, these articles, when they are part of Krishna or Krishna's abode, they are also conscious. So Balram, he specifically as Shesha expands into Krishna's paraphernalia, like the chair of Krishna, the throne of Krishna, the bedding of Krishna, the umbrella of Krishna, the pillows of Krishna, the garments of Krishna, and he also expands as the dham. So it's Balaram who expands himself as the dham. So the Vrindavan dham is an expansion of Lord Balaram. Inconceivable, isn't it? But that's what the purpose of Shesh is. So we see how in the chart, if you have seen, Sheshnag is actually holding all the material world, the universes atop its hoods and constantly singing the glories of the Supreme Lord. So one of the aspects that Balram actually manifests as dham. How do you even conceive of that, right? And why would Balram become a dham? Because dham we always keep in mind is just a place. It's a piece of earth. It's material. It's not eternal. It's temporary. So an example given to understand, not fully, but at least have a glimpse of some understanding of how Balram expands as the dham, is the fact that Vrindavan dham is just like a lotus flower, right? So lotus flower, it opens up and then it closes again. So we find in the Krishna lila, in the Krishna book, that Krishna used to travel from Nandagram to go to Vamshivat, which is, if you go by the geographical distance, it is about 37 miles. But Krishna used to just from Nandagram just go to Vamshivat just like that, in no time, as if it is not even a kilometer, it's a few meters away. So the Acharyas explain that the Vrindavan Dham, when we see it, or the way we see it now, is like a lotus that has opened. So if this is Nandagram, that is Vamshivat, that's 37 kilometers. So if you have to travel by obviously a car. We can't even walk. Even if we walk, it's going to take days, if not hours. But when Krishna was actually physically manifest in Vrindavan Dham, the lotus was in a closed position, like this. See my hands. And then what happens? That is Nandagram and that is Vamshivat. So that 37 kilometers becomes next to each other. And so Krishna, he performed wonderful pastimes from one place to the other, to the other, to the other. Whereas now, if we go to Vrindavan and we see all the different places where Krishna performed his pastimes, they are miles away. And we used to wonder how come Krishna from his father's place, he went to that place and he went to this place, and every day he was performing pastimes in all these places. How is it possible? It's because of that. And all of this was facilitated by Lord Balaram. So all he does is to ultimately taste the transcendental bliss of serving Krishna. So when we do our devotional service and we experience a drop of bliss in serving Krishna, in serving the devotees of the Lord, the bliss we experience is coming by the mercy of Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram ki jai. So that was a little bit about why Balaram manifests and what is his eternal occupation and what does he teach us. Now, Balaram obviously appears, or Krishna expands as Balaram, and in in front of the Brajavasis, he appears as a 16-year-old boy, fair complexion, absolutely like a crystal color. We always see Balaram's photograph, white, very, very fair. And he always wears blue garments. Just like Krishna, he wears golden yellow. And Balaram always wears blue garments. And he always decorates himself with forest flowers, garlands made of forest flowers. He obviously has got, he's extremely powerful. So not only is he powerful spiritually and bestows spiritual strength, he is physically strong and powerful as well. And that is manifested by the two weapons or symbols that he carries. And one is the plow, agriculture, krishi. And second is raksha, which is the club, the mace. So he has the mace on one hand and he's got the plow in the other hand. And in his face he applies tilak from musk, and he's got a grave voice, Lord Balaram. And we also had the Rath Yatra just some time back, and we saw how all the three personalities, when they come out of the temple, Jagannath, Subhadra and Baladev, they have their own chariots. So Baladev or Balaram, he's got a specific chariot, and his chariot's name is called Taladhvaj. He only travels in that chariot. And that chariot is pulled by 4 horses, 4 extremely powerful horses. And the 4 horses, they've got 4 names. So they are Tura, Ghora, Dirgha and Shram. So what do they mean? One means, Tura means strength, Bal. Ghora means constancy, regular. Third, Dirgha means it is eternal or timeless. And fourth is Shrama, hard work. So these 4 horses, they represent what Balaram manifests for or expands himself for. So in this material world, all the living entities, they are manifest. And the living entities, when they are in this material world, they display a mentality of ignorance. Why ignorance? Because they seem to work very hard for something that is easily available and spend all their time in working hard, perhaps earning money, especially in today's context, and they forget the real aim of human life. So they are keen just to protect their material assets and completely forget their spiritual destination. So this kind of mentality is called the Dhenukasur mentality. Just like how Dhenukasur was protecting all the Tal, in the Tal one of Vrindavan, he was protecting them for Kamsa and not allowing any of the cowherd boys to enjoy them. and he was completely ignorant of the real situation. So living entities in this material world are exactly like the Dhenukasur. So Balram specifically manifests and appears to kill the Dhenukasur in all of us. So he just lifts Dhenukasur, swirls him around and throws him about the tal trees. And when he throws them, because of the pressure of the dead body of Dhenukasur and his associates, all the tal, the fruits of the tree, they fall down so that all the Brajabasis are able to actually enjoy them. So that is the role of Lord Balaram in our life. So his mission is to create the is to service, provide service in creating the material world, to maintain the spiritual world, and to assist in being in Krishna's pastimes, being his personal paraphernalia. So Lord Balaram is also known by another wonderful name. If you had attended last year's Balaram Jayanti, I had mentioned this, but I thought I'll repeat this again. It is such a wonderful understanding. So Balaram is also known as Swayam Prakash. The Swayam Prakash. Prakash means light. The light that doesn't need any external source. He himself is the source of all knowledge, of all light. So he is like a torchlight. He's a source of all knowledge. He's a source of all illumination, of all light. And because he's a source of all knowledge and source of all illumination, he is the one that helps us find the right direction in our spiritual journey. Just like in any journey, in any path, we need to have the right direction given to us. So Balaram provides us that direction by manifesting himself in front of living entities as the Guru and directing all the living entities to perform devotional service and ultimately attain the ultimate destination. So, as a kind of summary, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, he gives all the living entities a weapon, a big weapon, a very powerful weapon to get out of the clutches of this material world and ultimately reach our ultimate destination. And what is that weapon? He gives us the sword of transcendental knowledge. Now the sword is available for everybody, but only few people, they actually realize the value of the sword. Sometimes the sword is given to a lot of people, but they just keep it as it is. So Prabhupada, he distributed Bhagavad Gita's books, so many books, and he encouraged his disciple to distribute as well. Unfortunately, some people keep them as it is, but only some fortunate people open them and seek association of devotees to study them. So Krishna, he gave us the sword of transcendental knowledge. That is a weapon to get us out of this material existence, this prison house. So Krishna gave us the sword. Lord Balaram gave us the strength to lift that sword, because the sword is heavy. It's transcendental knowledge. It's absolutely priceless. There's no value. It's invaluable. So Lord Balaram gives the living entities the strength to accept, to lift this sword of transcendental knowledge so that we are able to utilize that in our life. And then once Krishna gives us the sword of transcendental knowledge, once Balaram gives us the strength to lift that sword, it is our duty, it is our dharma. What? To sharpen that sword. Keep sharpening that sword. With what? The biggest stone available? No. Sharpen the sword with devotional service, with our bhakti. So on this most auspicious day, although it's over yesterday, but as we get into the mood of slowly moving towards the biggest festival of the year for Vaishnavas at least, let us pray to the lotus feet of Krishna that the sword of transcendental knowledge that He has given us. We pray to Lord Balaram that He gives us the strength to receive that knowledge, to accept the knowledge, and engage in devotional service of the Lord. And to that effect, we need to have, or we need to constantly be in association with devotees who have received that sword, who have lifted that sword with complete faith and determination, and who have made significant strides in their spiritual journey. Associate with such people, such followers of Srila Prabhupada, and we pray at the lotus feet of Lord Balaram that we are able to somehow or the other have firm faith and determination to serve the lotus feet of Krishna and please Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna himself. Jai Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki Jai, Balaram's appearance day ki Jai. I'll conclude with just two other verses that are wonderful. Again, sorry, from Adi Lila. So there is one verse that says, Chhatra Paduka Shojjo Upadhan Vasan Aram Abash Joggo Sutro Singhasan. So the Lord Balaram serves Lord Krishna assuming all the following forms: umbrella, slippers, bedding, pillow, garments, resting chair, residence, sacred thread, and throne. So we discussed about this. So this is that verse. Then, এত মূর্তি ভেদ করি কৃষ্ণ সেবা করে কৃষ্ণের শেষতা পানা শেষ নাম ধরে. He is thus called Lord Shesha, for he has attained the ultimate end of servitude to Krishna. He takes many forms for the service of Krishna, and thus he serves the Lord. And another one, the conclusion of this section. কৃষ্ণ অবতারে জ্যেষ্ঠ হইল সেবার কারণ কৃষ্ণকে করাইল নানা সুখ আস্বাদন. When Lord Krishna appeared, he, Balaram, became his elder brother to serve him to his heart's content and make him enjoy all sorts of happiness. And that is the conclusion. I'll just repeat that again. Three important points here. When Krishna appeared, Lord Balaram became his elder brother. Why? To serve him to his heart's content and to make him enjoy all kinds of happiness. So if to serve him to our heart's content, to the point we become extremely blissful. And why are we blissful? So we don't serve him to become blissful ourselves. So we don't serve him so that I can become happy. But we serve Krishna to make him happy. And when Krishna is happy, the default is we are blissful. So when we feel blissful, we have to understand Krishna is happy with our service. And that's the reason we feel blissful. And because we feel blissful, we want to engage in more service to the Lord and please him even more. So coming Janmashtami, a lot of services at the temple. I'm sure all of you are doing quite a few. If somebody is not, please do come over. And also there is this Krishna Mela coming up this Sunday from 11 to 4. So we have a full week of a lot of festivities and a lot of fun. Jai Shri Krishna Balaram ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Gaur. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So we do have an option for asking any questions. There are some comments that I can see. So if there's any question, please do write them down and I'll try and throw some light on them if I can. Also, while and if somebody's typing, also just thought I'll let you know that Next Tuesday, because it's Janmashtami next Wednesday, Tuesday, there'll be a lot of services at the temple. So we will not be having any class next Tuesday. Instead, we would request all of the devotees to come and help out in whatever way and capacity that they can. The following Tuesday, after Janmashtami, we thought it will be a good opportunity for us to hear some of the glories of Krishna. We always hear about Krishna anyway, but it's good to have some concentrated session specifically about the appearance of the Supreme Lord. And the week after that, we will hear some of the glories of Srimati Radharani. So we had Balaram today, we'll have Krishna, then we'll have Radharani, and then we will continue with Jada Bharat. Obviously, you might forget the pastimes at this point, but we'll ensure we have a recap and have everybody on board. Okay, thank you very much. Don't see any questions here. Obviously, people have gone to sleep. It's getting late. So thank you very much again. Hare Krishna.